Hello, everybody, and welcome once again to Breaking Ponies, where we overanalyze a kids' show and underanalyze a show for adults.
Yeah, it's funny how we came up with that idea.
Yeah, well, that's how these things seem to work. So, we have a couple of rather good episodes. I liked both of the episodes today.
Yeah, they're good ones. I especially like the first one.
Yeah,
So
I remember you saying this is one of your favorite ones.
it's certainly one of my favorite ones from the first season, definitely.
So we have episode 23, The Cutie Mark Chronicles. Was it The Cutie Mark Chronicles or just Cutie Mark Chronicles?
I think you can say either or. I think it does have the at the beginning of it, but I don't think it matters one way or the other.
So we start off with the Crusaders using this zip line up in the forest because forests have zip lines.
I think they built it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Which must have been quite an undergoing because they had to stretch it across and then tighten it and
Well, they didn't tighten it that well though, did they?
yeah, they didn't because they went through at the same time, so they kind of caused it to sag. And of course, the friction took a while to work, but it caused their beaners to break through it. So they land in the forest, and they're like, "Well, crap."
Yep.
So
Pretty much.
obviously, that's not their special talent. Is using zip. What kind of talent would that be anyway?
I don't know. Some sort of extreme sports
I think they're
style
just
thing,
using it
maybe?
as an excuse to try different things at this point.
Yeah, pretty much. I
Like, what
mean,
kind of weird situation were the Crusaders in? How about they're zip lining over the forest? Okay.
that'll work. Yep. Why not? Because reasons, apparently.
So yeah, they still haven't gotten their marks yet, so they decide to go ask all the other ponies where did they get their marks in the first place, which is the impetus of this episode, which is sort of a chronicle or anthology
It's it's
series.
it's an origin story
Yeah, it's an origin
episode.
story of each of the different ponies and how they got their marks, which
Which,
is
yeah,
it's a good enough idea for backstory because you
yeah, it's nice. It's one of the reasons why I like it because if you think about it, we didn't need an origin story.
no,
You
you
know, it
didn't.
wouldn't have mattered one way or the other. But the fact that they've added it in is nice. It's good that they've done that. But it wasn't like fundamentally necessary. We could have gone the whole 5 seasons or whatever without ever knowing how they actually got their cutie marks. It's not strictly speaking important, but it's nice to have, which is one of the reasons why I like this episode.
One they really want to talk to is Rainbow Dash because I guess she's their favorite.
Well, she's the coolest one,
Yeah,
apparently.
and of course on the way they encounter periodically pretty much every other pony along the way, just because that's
Well, but,
that's the way
well,
the episode's written.
yeah, well, if you're gonna have an origin story, you got to have all 6 of them. So
Yeah,
they've got
so
to come up with reasons to run into each of them
they
along the
run into
way.
each of them, and then they just for some reason tell them. And by the end, they're not even caring of why they run it. They're just like in a later part of the episode, they're just suddenly talking with Twilight. It's like,
Yeah, yeah,
it was
yeah.
like it's
Which
like
I
they're
think
not
is
even
kind of the
caring about
joke.
adding that to the overall arc of the story. There's hey, now they're talking with Twilight Sparkle.
Yeah, well, again, that was kind of the joke because it was a cutaway thing. It's like we got to go find Rainbow Dash. Cutaway, they're talking to Twilight.
Yeah.
So they just keep getting caught up by these things. So
So yeah,
yeah,
the first one they talk to is Applejack, which her backstory is that she didn't want to be an apple picker, which kind of sucks when they already decided to name her Applejack.
yeah. Again, it's the whole Cutie Mark. Wait, what the hell name thingy before after? It doesn't make any sense.
Is this the
But
episode you were talking about that does explain it, or is that still later on?
oh no, no, no! There's no episode that explains it. I said there's an episode later on where you get a character whose name is so much like their cutie mark that you have to wonder what they called them before.
Right.
But that doesn't show it till like the end of the second season.
Does anybody actually bring it up in the episode, or it's just left to the viewers to make that question?
No, it's a question I ask.
Right.
Definitely, it's not. It's not even mentioned in the show, as far as I know. But it's a question that you have to think. Trust me. When we get to the episode, you'll twig to it. Trust me.
Okay. So yeah, she ends up going to Manhattan, which I believe they have mentioned in the past.
Yeah, I think they mentioned it in name only before.
Which I mean, it doesn't quite look like you would expect Manhattan to look, because obviously it's based on Manhattan, but it looks a lot like 1800s Manhattan.
There is actually an episode in the future where they do actually go to Manhattan, and it does look a lot more like the actual, real life New York does.
So it looked older because she was younger back then. Okay, that's
I suppose, it looks
they
a bit
made
older. 'Cause
really really rapid progress, I guess.
well, partly that. It's also, I don't think they were in like central Manhattan. I think that was like one of the outer suburbs, perhaps.
Right.
Because because it's closer to Ponyville.
So, of course, Applejack as a country girl does not take too well to the city life. It's like comparing apples to oranges,
Literally.
literally, because her cousins or relatives are all orange
Yeah,
based.
everything's orange. You just walk into the room and everything was a shade of
And
orange.
even their marks are oranges. So
Yeah. Oh, well, stick to what you know, I guess.
yeah, I guess. Which is what she learns because she decides, this place isn't for me. Because apparently they don't serve large portions of food in the city.
Well, yeah, it's kind of like whole sort of joke on the upper class is that
Yeah,
they
the
eat
whole
tiny
gourmet
little
of
food.
you put
This is the
a
whole
you put a
Ponzi
leaf on a plate
restaurants.
and drizzle around in this. Yeah, that's $80.
Yeah, exactly. Which I never, give me a big full plate of steak and chips any day. I like food, in piles,
Yeah,
definitely.
the pile is the best measurement of food. Yes.
How many piles can we fit on this plate? 8, that'll do it.
We could fit even more if we stack them on top of each other.
Piles on piles, you're a genius. Anyway,
So yeah,
how the fuck did we get onto that? Um,
So
anyway,
of course she decides, yeah, the city life isn't for her, and she decides to head back home. And when she did that,
after being pointed there by a rainbow, that's
yes,
an important
yes,
thing,
she's pointed back home by a rainbow, which is
which comes
odd
into
at the
the episode
time,
later.
but yeah, it does come into play later. Then of course next we have Fluttershy, who's the closest one to Rainbow Dash's backstory, and the kids are really interested in hearing hers, but unfortunately she wasn't quite there for the whole time. But you wouldn't guess that when Fluttershy was young, she was shy.
Yeah, they actually start with that line, which is hilarious. Although, if you think about it, Fluttershy is shy, but she's not that shy. She's a lot shyer when she was a kid. So, I suppose, in relative terms, that's quite accurate.
I'm kind of curious what she might have been like around her parents, because that seems like the kind of thing that you would blame the parents for. Why are they so
Well,
shy?
well, not necessarily. I mean, I'm quite shy. My parents are always trying to push me out the front door. It's just that I don't want to go. But that's just me.
She's of course getting picked on. I believe that's supposed to be Snips and Snails.
No,
No,
it's the trio from a previous episode, or two of the trio from a previous episode. No, Snips and Snails, they're Earth ponies.
right.
They're not Pegasus ponies. But it is their sort of younger versions of characters from previous episodes. The episode where Rarity gets wings. Do you remember that one?
Right. Yeah,
That episode. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. I can't even remember. So I think that was the Sonic Rainbow one, wasn't it?
I believe
That was
so.
actually
Yeah.
called Sonic Rainbow. Anyway, moving on.
They did look familiar, but I didn't quite recognize who they were. It was I just figured Snips and Snails because those were the ones whose names I knew. So of course Rainbow Dash stands up for her, and they decide to race for her honor. So it's like, way to go, choosing.
Yeah. Well.
But of course, during the race, she gets knocked off, and we decide to have a commercial cliffhanger at that point, because cliffhangers in flashbacks, I don't know,
Don't make
they
sense.
they never seem to work. It's like, oh my god, does she survive?
Well, unless it's about a character in a flashback who isn't the character who's telling the story, that might work.
Yeah.
Like, someone who you don't know survived. Again, like I said at the time, it's not about a question of whether she does survive.
It's
a
how
question
she
of
survives.
how
And
she
of course,
survives.
she has wings, so why is being knocked off so bad?
Because she doesn't fly very well.
Right.
She's a Pegasus pony who is effectively afraid to fly. So
Yeah, that's
yeah.
kind of a crippling issue. And of course, on the ground, she discovers that she really likes animals, and that's there she discovered her calling.
Yeah,
And-
of course, what happened was there was a giant rainbow explosion in the sky and scared all the animals, and then she finds that she can calm them very well, and she can communicate
and sing
well.
a song, which you forgot that they had a song.
Yeah, I forgot they had a song in this episode, which shows you how much of an impact it left.
Yeah, for one of your favorite episodes, you know so much about it.
Well, I didn't remember the song bit, but I remembered all the other parts. So
Right.
the song is kind of throwaway.
Well, you always
anyway.
you always learn something new, I guess.
Yeah.
Then we get Rarity's backstory, which I'm through not caring about Rarity. I don't care about not caring about Rarity anymore.
Okay.
Rarity doesn't want to settle for great. She wants to settle for spectacular.
Of
and
course.
I was making this joke the whole time where Rarity has a raging clue and it's pulling her to the left. And
Yeah,
you totally didn't
actually-
get this joke. I should have linked you the video earlier before this.
Well, the thing was, the signal, because when we watched the episodes, we watched them in tandem and talk over Skype as we're doing it. And your audio cut out while you were making all these Rarity jokes, and I only caught snippets of them.
Right.
So, because the episode was still marching on, I just said I didn't get it. But in truth, I didn't hear what the hell you even said.
Okay. Well, you probably wouldn't have gotten it. It's a South Park reference.
Fine.
She's looking for a way to make her clothes look better, and she ends up discovering this. Somehow, she gets pulled to up this mountain by her horn and finds this massive geode and breaks it open, and it's full of gems. It's like everything works better with gems. When in doubt, cover it with gems.
When in doubt, just add bling and make it look tacky. Hey, it works. Don't question it. It bloody works.
Yeah, it's supposedly she was drawn there by an explosion that I don't really.
No, she wasn't drawn there by the explosion. The magic happens. She gets drawn to the rock, and she just thinks that it's a rock. Then the magic explosion
Right,
happens.
the explosion breaks it open, and it's just
And the explosion
a
breaks
whole
it
bunch of geode, a whole bunch of.
There's a whole bunch of gems inside. She uses the gems on her costume, and they're all big hits, and she gets her gem-based cutie mark.
So then we just drop the pretense of them going from one point to the next, and they're suddenly talking to Twilight.
Of course.
Which we not only get to see her backstory, but we also get to see the backstory of Spike.
Yeah, so by proxy of that.
Which was interesting, which was nice to see.
Yeah.
She had this big exam at school, and she...
Well, it wasn't at school, it's just... She watched
it's like
the
an
Summer
exam.
Sun celebration, remember?
Right.
And she became fascinated with magic. So she wants to enroll at this sort of fancy magic school. And so she has to have a test before she can enter, which is to hatch a dragon egg. And, of course, she kind of struggles at first.
The visuals for this, where she is trying to get the magic to come out of her horn, I was very much biting my tongue, trying to avoid making jokes about this, because she is having performance anxiety, and then these tiny streams of sparkles come out.
Dude, seriously.
I'm sorry. It's just that's what I was
You should be sorry. What the hell are you thinking?
She's having trouble performing, and
she's having trouble performing, and then just lets out a little spurt of magic. No, no. You've ruined this episode for me for the rest of my life now. Thank you very much.
You know what else could have happened? A little flag pops out and says "bang."
Oh, shut up. We do get a bang, though, because, again, magical explosion takes place.
Yeah, which inspires her, I guess, and helps her.
Well, it's weird. It's like, I think it surprises her and kind of unlocks her untapped magical potential or something.
And she ends up like turning her parents into plants.
Yeah, she turns her parents into plants. She levitates the judges and manages to hatch Spike into a giant adult dragon straight off the bat.
And I made the observation that she's doing the Crystal Flash from Metroid.
Not quite. One of my friends actually at the time said it reminded him of X-Men.
The Phoenix?
I don't know exactly. I don't read X-Men, but it's something about... I can't remember her name. It's like there's the female psychic. Yeah, that's it. Jean Grey. She had a similar episode. Her psychic powers went nuts, and Professor X showed up and helped her. And that's exactly what happened to Twilight. Twilight goes nuts, and then Celestia shows up, and then Celestia takes Twilight on as the protege, much like in X-Men. Maybe it was inspired by, or maybe that's just a coincidence. I don't know. But
I could have gone either way with that one.
Well, yeah, maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But anyway, yeah, that's how Twilight ended up as Celestia's direct pupil, and how Twilight first met Spike.
Which was interesting because they're just here, have a dragon.
Yeah, it's weird. You have to wonder what would have happened, like if she didn't just manage to hatch the egg normally. Would she still have had Spike following her around? Is that like a thing?
Yeah, it's like is that the standard test to enter this school?
I don't know. It's not really explained. It's just she has to hatch a dragon egg. I think they just wanted to show where Spike came from, so they did that.
Do they ever explain it later how Spike specifically was assigned to her? Is there anything between this and anything else between like this and when she first starts working?
No.
No?
Not that I can remember.
You just assume that's how it worked out.
Yeah, that was just kind of how it worked out. Maybe it would have been like, hatch the egg, and then the egg gets sent back to the dragon lands or something, and Twilight decided to keep him, or... I don't know. It's never actually explained in detail why she ends up with Spike. I mean, I'm not complaining. Spike's hilarious.
Yeah, I like Spike. Spike's great.
Spike's a nice character. I mean, he's the only male character we get, really, for the most part. So, yeah, I don't know exactly. It's not explained directly, but yeah.
So of course, and right before they finally talk to Rainbow. Oh wait, there's one more to talk with, and of course they have to talk with Pinkie Pie, whose backstory is not what I expected.
Really.
She works in a very dark, dreary, gray place on a rock farm because rocks need to be farmed.
You know, I've been working this out. A lot of people say, what the hell is the rock farm? I've worked it out. You know how you sometimes get those people who like look after dogs and cats when their owners go away on holiday? You know the type
Yeah,
of
like a
thing.
kennel.
Yeah, kind of like that, but they're actual people who sort of look after pets that's like their home or a farm or something. Clearly, these people are looking after pet rocks.
Oh,
Um, yeah, sorry, this was a joke, by the way. This I wasn't actually being serious. It was all supposed to be a joke, so I hope the punchline went well on that. I like how it took you a split second to realize I was joking then. That was quite good.
I thought you were gonna keep going.
No, no, no. Pet rock. That's it. That was the punchline. I mean, I was going to keep going if you didn't laugh, and then sort of talk my way out of it. But I'm glad you laughed. That worked out quite well. No, but I think it's a rock farm. It's supposed to be like a thing like they're kind of like the Amish.
Right,
You know,
they did look very much like the Amish. He was
I
wearing the
think.
hats and
Yeah, they were wearing like the hats and the sort. They had Amish looking clothes and everything. And
the
you
beard.
find out that Pinkie Pie has two sisters, one of whom you do get to see later on. I want
You
to point
also
that
get to
out.
find out her full name.
Pinkamena Diane Pie. Diane seems like such a normal name to just shoehorn in there. I mean, I have no problems with Pinkamena, but Diane sounds weird in this context. Maybe that's just me. I don't know.
I don't know what other word would work in that, or what other name would work in that case. I mean, it
Yeah.
flows decently.
Yeah, it's got a good flow to it, and you realize how she got Pinkie Pie from that.
And of course, isn't Pinkie Pie like a character from much? That isn't she like one of the early generation ponies as well?
All of them, Rainbow Dash, Applejack, Fluttershy, all the main six, their names come back from the first season, and some of them went through multiple generations, some of them got dropped, but I'm pretty sure all of the main six names originated in the original My Little Pony season. I think, off the top of my head, I think. The more you know.
Yeah. So
Um,
her effect from this rainbow, because she had a rainbow as well, where she suddenly discovers color. Like, oh my god, color exists in this world.
yeah, it's like it's all
It's very
gray and
gray. It's a very
horrible.
Amish, quiet place that she absolutely hates. And she discovers color, and it makes her happy. So she decides to try to make other people happy. And
Almost explodingly so. I mean, when it's got her face
well,
looking at
because
the rainbow, she looks like she's gonna
she went
blow
from being
up.
all combed and primed and proper to being big fluffy mane.
Yeah, that comes back quite a lot actually. The difference between her poofy hair and her having flat hair, that becomes a thing.
What
I'm not gonna.
is she like much? Is she much more somber when she has flat hair?
Kind of like that. You'll understand. It's in. In fact, you'll understand in the next time we actually sit down to record because
Oh, well,
I'm pretty sure the next episode is the episode where you'll see it again. But we'll get into that.
okay. So, well, finally, after talking with all five others, they get around to talking with Rainbow Dash, who explained that she discovered her mark when she managed to make a sonic rain boom during that race. Which is that the same race that they mentioned back in the episode about the sonic rain boom?
Yes, it is. When she says, "Yeah, I haven't done the Sonic Rainbow for years. I was just a young kid." That's the race.
So
So
yeah,
it's tied
everything
together
actually
quite
is very
nicely.
well mixed together. Very well, they established these backstories
Yeah,
quite a while in the past.
yeah. I think they might have done that, or at least they look back on what they'd already written and then adapted it into a proper backstory in that sense.
Right.
So yeah, it works out quite well. Of course, so what happens is that she makes the Sonic Rain Boom, and that's the giant rainbow explosion from everybody else's one. And it turns out that they were apparently destined to be friends from before they'd ever even met, which is interesting.
Yeah, which is a strange story or strange theme to have for a show like this. I mean, oftentimes you don't know who your friends are going to be.
Again, it's the other reason I like this episode is that it's kind of a little more grown up. The idea of like fate and destiny, and that perhaps things happen because they're supposed to happen that way, and that all of them going through those trials to end up getting their cutie mark sort of started them on the path to ultimately becoming the close friends that they were, or now are, I should say. So yeah, it's interesting. It's the idea of sort of fate and destiny. You don't see that sort of thing in kids shows very much. It's all in kids shows. It's all, oh, things just happen, because that's easier for a kid to accept.
And yeah, and usually when kids are friends, it's mostly just because
Their
they,
parents are friends.
well, either their parents are friends, or in my experience, a lot of kids become friends because their last names are close. and so they always sat next to each other in school because they'd be arranged alphabetically.
Oh, well, yeah, that's true. Yeah, the whole alphabet seating is just weird. I never understood that.
There's actually been, I'm going off on a slight tangent here. There's actually been research that says people with last names closer to the end of the alphabet actually more often develop an inferiority complex compared to people with a last name at the beginning of the alphabet, because they're
Ah,
used to always be like being like last in line and being last called on and everything.
that actually makes a certain kind of sense. I suppose the same could be said about like short people versus height people. Yeah, they ever do that? Like tell you to line up by height or something? I got
Um,
that a couple of times at school. That was weird.
I don't think I ever did that because I guess they didn't trust us.
I don't think it was an actual thing. We want you to line. I think it was like we were discussing height, so they said try to line up by height.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
And
that makes more sense.
but yeah, the whole alphabet thing, line up. That didn't bother me because my last name begins with a C,
Yeah.
so I'm close to the beginning, so it never bothered me in the slightest.
But yeah, so I guess that wraps it up for that episode. You really like this one. You like you said, it really drives the point home how close these characters are as friends.
Mm,
And I liked it too. I thought it was well written. There was a lot of I liked the next episode a bit more, mostly
really?
for personal reasons.
Oh yeah, I think I can imagine why.
Yeah, I mean, it's of course moving forward into episode 24, we get Spike and Twilight, which are I mean, Spike is by far my favorite character.
Really?
Well, if forced to pick one of the ponies, it'd be different, but I definitely choose Spike.
Yeah. Is this a slight bias on your part, or is this
Possibly, but I probably would like Spike in general because he's not the type of dragons character that I normally like, but he definitely has a more upbeat attitude.
Yeah.
He's not
Yeah,
always
he's fun.
moping. He's not often the jealous type, except he is in this episode.
Yeah, I was gonna say you want to hold your tongue on that. You haven't seen some of the future episodes, so yeah, as
So
you
yeah,
say,
when I knew
it's
that this was a Spike and Twilight episode, I was legitimately intrigued.
well, rightly so. I mean, a lot of the episodes try to just match two characters and
Yeah,
then play off
they
them.
just pick two random characters because when you have six, then it's already 32 different pairings you could do.
Yeah, exactly. So it works off, and you get a lot of things. I
18.
mean, even when they do like a six-character episode, like the last one, they gave a little bit of screen time to everybody, and I think that kind of worked out well because it was a sort of an anthology type thing.
Yeah, very anthology.
Yeah, but anyway, this one it's mostly about Spike.
Yeah. So they're all getting ready to watch a meteor shower, and Spike is totally on top of everything. He has everything ready. He's got food. He's got a big punch bowl just perched ready to take with them. I was like, that's not going to be
I
safe.
am fairly certain they only did that so they could have the
The
jokes
joke
later
later
on.
on, yeah, I'm pretty damn sure that because it's a very telegraphed or very set up joke.
Clearly,
So
especially after it's been said, you sort of think back and you think, "Oh God, that's why they did that the whole
yeah, the
time."
only reason they did that, he's got fruit punch ready, he's got everything, but when the actual meteor shower happens, he's asleep because it's nighttime, he's a baby dragon, he needs his sleep. So he passes out in the punch bowl, leading to the comment that I am shocked that I didn't see this coming before, that the punch has been spiked.
Yeah, well, Pinkie Pie, queen of bad jokes, being that she is, of course, comes out with that. I mean, it's quite an obvious joke, I suppose, but it works out all right.
Yeah, clearly they did that just for that reason of that joke, where it's like,
Oh, yeah, but I mean, if you're gonna have a joke,
if
you
you're
should
gonna
at
have a
least
joke
set it
like
up.
that, you might as well telegraph it all the way. You might as well go whole hog and not do it.
Yeah, but it all
Don't
worked
do it
out.
halfway.
Yeah, exactly. If you're gonna have a bad joke, go all in.
Yeah, go. Yeah, if you're, it's gonna be a bad joke anyway. You might as well do it right. If you're gonna do
Mm,
something bad, do it right.
definitely. Wait, what?
Unfortunately, the one thing that he isn't prepared for is when she asks him for a book that'll help them know where all the stars and everything are, and he ends up sneezing and destroying the book because bad things happen when Spike sneezes.
Yes, that's very much established in future episodes as well. We'll
It
get
came
to
into
that.
play in like previous episodes as well, where he accidentally sent a bunch of scrolls to Celestia and they dropped her on her head.
Yeah, that's true.
So yeah,
Yeah.
bad things happen when Spike sneezes. In this
Well,
case,
when you have fire sneezes,
yeah,
yeah, things are gonna happen.
and if he covered his nose, it'd probably come out his ears.
Maybe. I mean, but I don't know. But about the only thing you could do is to maybe always have some marshmallows on a stick ready for whenever you sneeze. But that would be very cumbersome to have to carry around.
Have a fire extinguisher ready.
That's probably be more useful.
So
Just have
yeah,
a bucket of sand.
he accidentally destroys the book, and he lies and says that he couldn't find it.
Yeah. So you kind of see where this episode is going.
Well, not quite yet. So he's off to sleep, and Twilight needs new help. So she meets a new friend who she invites him in. It's an owl, and he could have been cheap and simple and just called him Owly or something. It would have been a stupid name, but it would not have been quite pretentious enough. They have to name him Owlowicious.
Yeah, Owlowicious. Because, I mean, if you think about Twilight, that is completely the name that she would give to one of her pets. Because she's that kind of pony. You know, she would give a big, grand name to one of her pets or something. So, yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Yet her dragon is named Spike.
Well, she was younger at the time. You know, it's like...
That's your defense.
Well, you know, when you're younger, you don't really think in big names. You know, you want simple things that you can say. So,
that's true.
What you call your rabbit, like Jumpy or Hoppy or whatever it is, or call animals with patches of fur, you just call them Patch or something lame like that, you know, because it's just easy.
There was Rabbity the rabbit, and Berry the bear, and Chickadee the chickadee.
Yeah.
And Mousy the mouse.
Hey, it worked. It worked.
Quickly, Aloysius begins to be much more popular than Spike was because he's new, he's different, and I guess they just like him, and he's very helpful. He manages to pretty much usurp Spike's position.
It's course Spike doesn't like that.
No, Spike is very, very jealous. So I mentioned earlier that Spike is not usually the jealous type, but he totally was in this episode.
Just a little bit. Because you got faked out about halfway through
the
episode.
I was. Of course, the episode, we have a really long stretch in the middle of the episode where Twilight breaks a quill, and now Spike has to go try to find her a new one. Meanwhile, she's like, oh, no, you don't have to do that. It's fine. So, no, which was mostly done for jokes. He goes to a place called Quills and Sofas, and they're sold out of quills, and he makes a very long thing that you literally sell only 2 things and you're sold out of one of them.
Yep.
Which seems almost like something out of a Family Guy joke. One of a better Family Guy joke.
Well, yeah, few and far between. But I'm gonna get hated for that, aren't I?
I don't think there's that many people defending Family Guy these days.
No, probably not. Yeah, so I mean, it's a bit of a comedy sketch, but I mean, it gives you scenes of just Spike being funny, and you get Pinkie Pie being funny as well.
Yeah, where he's asking for a quill, and she's like, "What do you want? A quilt? A quiche?" It's not pronounced.
Which reminded me of a Marx Brothers joke, actually, where he's trying to ask for a flash, but because he's got such a strong accent, he keeps misunderstanding. He gets a fish, a flitz, a flask, a flute. It's just in I think it was Animal Crackers. If you ever watch Marx Brothers stuff, they're hilarious.
I've seen a couple of them.
Animal Crackers is one of my favorite ones, if not my favorite one altogether. Yeah, it just reminded me of that.
I thought you were going to say that reminds me of that old joke. Can I get a quickie? I was like, no, it's pronounced quiche.
I don't like quiche. Can't stand this stuff. It's horrible. Ugh. I don't like onion.
I like onion if it's cooked. I don't like raw onion.
No one likes raw onion.
Well, some people do. Anyway, the weird thing is she ends up giving him a quail, which is like, you have a bird there. Why not get a feather? But no, he ends up chasing a chicken to try to find a feather. By the time he gets one, this like tiny down feather, he goes back and is like, no, Aloysius already gave me one of his feathers to use. And I was like, I knew that's exactly where it was going to go because he's a bird. It's right there.
Yep.
He ends up passing out, tired from all his adventures trying to find this stuff. And of course, he wakes up with Twilight yelling at him, and I figured that this was going to be a dream because it seems so out of character for her to be so angry with him.
Yeah,
She's usually not that quick to anger.
Well, no, but I think it was kind of like she was caught off guard by the fact that he'd lied. And, you know, she was probably just sort of caught up in the moment and just yelling at him a little. I mean, it does seem a little out of character, but she can get pissed off when she wants to.
The final straw for them is him trying to frame him with a stuffed mouse and ketchup, which
it doesn't even work on any level.
Insulted by the fact that he thought it would work than the fact that she was trying to frame him.
Spike goes a little over the top then. He sort of loses it a bit.
Yeah, so
just with the cape and everything.
He ends up moping and leaving, and he just disappears into the forest and finds this massive pile of gems in some cave, and I immediately thought, that's not good.
Well, yeah, it's kind of obvious right off the bat that something's clearly going on here.
And surprise, it's owned by another massive dragon, and this dragon is much more respectable, I guess, than the one we saw in the earlier episode,
Yeah.
who had this really kind of dopey voice. This one actually sounds closer to what you expect a dragon to sound like. It's like,
Deep, gruff, booming sort of voice.
what are you doing in my cave?
Don't give up your day job. Yeah, so this dragon's he's a bit more of a badass as well. I mean, dragons don't show up too much throughout the whole seasons and all that stuff. There's sort of one episode that does focus on dragons quite a bit, but we'll get to that later.
I'd imagine that's further down the line.
Yeah, I can't remember if that's second season or third season.
Well, we'll get to it.
We'll get to it when we get to it.
They end up having to rescue him, and Aloysius leads them out of the forest, and all's well, I guess.
All's well that ends well.
Of course, she finally explains at the end, which probably could have explained it earlier, that Spike had no reason to be threatened because she got him because he's nocturnal and Spike needs to sleep at night.
Because he's still a young baby dragon.
Yeah, and the owl can be up at night and help her. So if she had explained this to him earlier, I guess we wouldn't have had a reason for an episode, but it still would have been...
Well, it's one of those things, like, if people actually explain what they were doing, then it wouldn't be half as fun as it actually is.
Yeah.
That's like, you can't do things the normal way. It's like in a horror movie, why don't they just call the police? If they called the police and the police came over and, it wouldn't be a film.
Well, if the police came over, they wouldn't find anything.
Or that, yeah. It's usually one or the other.
There was one movie that I've been wanting to see where they actually do go to the police, but it doesn't help them. They're actually intelligent about it. I think it's the one about the haunted cell phones, where they do the logical thing, they get rid of their fucking cell phones, and it tracks them, it continues to their next cell phones.
I don't know that one.
Anyway, yeah, back on topic. The other unusual thing about this episode, she actually has Spike write the letter to Celestia at the end, which he gets most of the way through before falling asleep, because of course...
It's sort of a last punchline, really, But yeah, I mean, it's established that she isn't the only one who writes to Celestia. I mean, usually she writes on someone else's behalf, but...
Right, she usually dictates, and Spike actually writes it.
Yeah, I mean, really, if you actually look at what Spike does, you think that Twilight is just incapable of doing anything? Really? If you actually look at what Spike does, particularly in this episode. I mean, I get the whole point is that Twilight's really, really busy with her studies.
Right.
Maybe that's why she got to keep Spike, because Celestia knew she'd be really busy, so she was given Spike to help her out. Actually, that makes a lot of sense. I'm saying that. Who knows?
So yeah, I like this one more than Cutie Mark Chronicles. I did like that one as well, but I thought this one was... It's just a good, one-off episode. It gets you to learn about Spike and it wraps itself up pretty well, has a decent enough story arc, and it's fairly well paced. So I thought it has a
big badass dragon in it, which helps.
Of course, there's always a great reason to like it.
Anyway, after one hell of a long time, actually, we spent a long time talking about the Cutie Mark Chronicles.
Oh yes, that 20 minutes for each episode.
No, it was a half an hour 25 minutes for the Cutie Mark Chronicles, but See, we usually try to do about 15 minutes each for all three of the things, so we'd wrap it up at about 45 minutes, but we're already at 40. I will try to go through this as quickly as I can. So, yeah, the episode starts, as usual, after the events of the episode. I want to say I'm getting a little annoyed about this, but to be perfectly honest, I don't care enough to get annoyed. It's what they do. Yeah,
it's just the way that it works. It's just their method of storytelling.
At least we're not back in the black and white fucking swimming pool. Yet. Yeah, I'm sure there'll be another one of those before the end of the season. So anyway, you got a couple of, I think they were Mexicans swimming across a river for reasons known only to themselves, I'm sure. Maybe sneaking across a border or something.
I would imagine so.
And they swim across the river. I don't even know who they are. I don't even know if they're going to show up again.
I don't think it is necessary, no. I don't think they show up. I just think they just kind of throw away characters.
Yeah, just a couple of characters. The important thing, however, is that one of them, once they hit the other side of the river, stumbles across something, and when he reaches down, he finds it's the... What was it? Plastic
Lucite.
Box? Lucite, that's it. The Lucite box containing Tuco's teeth that was given to Hank in the previous episode. And then we get the opening. So right off the bat, they're giving us this big question. How did it get there? And it's like, why do you have to do this every episode? Surely just watching the episode is enough.
Well, it helps to have a callback. It helps to make sure you know what everything's all about.
So anyway, we cut into the main bulk of the episode, and got Walter getting what is the last treatment in phase 1 of his overall treatment for his, is it chemotherapy or radiotherapy? I can never remember which.
I want to say chemotherapy
treatment.
Because it's chemicals, but chemotherapy, I always think like the big machine.
Well, I don't know. It's different because, like, different shows show them in different ways. So, even if you can't track it from one show to the other.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
anyway, so he's having his cancer treatment. It's the last one of phase one. The doctor tells him to be sort of cautiously optimistic about the whole thing. Sort of, asking what's going on because Skylar isn't with him today. That's a
Which
surprise.
is odd.
Yeah, it's
Hey,
like, well,
they're by
in the
his
last
side, but
episode,
no,
they
she
were
was off
having
doing something else.
troubles. Yeah, she's off killing her unborn baby with cancer sticks. So
Something we'll
anyway,
get
he gets
into
a
later.
bill. Yeah, he gets a bill for the whole treatment, and he is, I think, fair to say, floored by it. Just the look on his face.
Yeah,
Um,
it's way more expensive than he expected. I mean, he has all this drug money, but it's not going as far as he expected it to.
yeah, and when he gets home, Skylar's currently dealing with the fallout from his 3-day stay in hospital after his fake fugue episode.
So this is
I
really coming back to bite him in the ass.
yeah, it's like
At a certain point, he's probably wondering, would it have been easier to just tell her the truth?
Yeah, I think it probably would have been. It's like it's the whole thing of like if you lie, you end up paying for it. Literally one way or another, isn't it? Like, lies just get worse and worse. And he ended up with a $13,000 bill for a 3-day stay in hospital, which is just fucking mental. I mean,
Yeah,
I don't
it's
know if you can.
sadly not all that far from accurate.
Yeah, I know. You were saying that. I mean, Zero is American, but I live in the UK, so I don't really deal with hospital bills. So we have the glorious NHS in this country.
And something I am actually quite jealous of.
Well, it doesn't cover everything. You do have to pay for some medical treatment. The NHS only covers certain things. Some things you can get on it, some things you can't. I don't know the details. Don't ask. So he's got the bill for his cancer treatment, and he's got the bill for his 3-day stay in hospital, which he's counting out the money that he keeps in his air vent, and he realizes that the money he's got is only just about going to cover these two things. I'm pretty sure that's mentioned later on in the episode. So he's obviously very worried and nervous about this, and ends up throwing up in the toilet, which unfortunately gets stuck. And when he's trying to unstick it with a plunger, he finds a discarded packet of cigarettes in there, obviously thrown in by Skylar at some point between the previous episode and this one. Anyway, we cut back to Hank, his DEA agent brother-in-law. So they're sort of discussing the situation in
Eventually, you
this.
won't have to keep introducing him that way.
Yeah, well, I'm probably going to keep saying that anyway, just so people can keep track of the whole thing. And so I can keep track of the whole thing as well, because I mean, you've got all these characters jumping all over the place. It's a frigging nightmare to
It's
build a.
not that. I don't think it's that many
Yeah,
more
it's not that
characters than
hard.
something like My Little Pony. I mean,
No,
you
not
have
really, not really.
six-ish main characters.
Yeah, I mean that's usually how shows work. They may have a large selection of side casts, but usually they just focus on like 6 or 7 main people, which is fine. I think that works. It helps to keep the show focused. Anyway, so Hank, they're sort of discussing the aftermath of the incident with Tuco and sort of how the drug trade is sort of adapting to this sudden power vacuum. Things are better now that Tuco's gone.
Well, better for who? Better for the police, I'm guessing.
Things are better. They're saying that there's less drugs or less meth out on the streets now. They sort of vaguely mention the name Heisenberg, but they're starting to wonder if it's some sort of boogeyman type character.
Yeah, that's not really. That doesn't really exist. Which is half right.
Which is half right, indeed. I mean, I'm pretty sure if Walter ever heard Hank saying that, Walter would probably think, actually, I can live with that. Being a boogeyman, fine. If even the cops don't know if I exist, I'm fine with that. So anyway, Hank gets a massive promotion. And I'm not sure, were they actually planning to move him? Because they mentioned like somewhere in
He would
down.
be commuting, I'm guessing.
Yeah, probably. I mean, it wasn't really established exactly what his new job is, but he'd be in charge of like a new district or something. It's a big promotion for him, and he kind of feels it's a long time coming. So yeah, that's obviously good for him. And so he and the guys going out to celebrate, and he has this weird, I don't know what to call it, like a panic attack,
Yeah, he
I
has like this
guess.
panic attack in the elevator, and then as soon as he reaches his floor, he's fine.
Yeah, so I was sort of wondering if maybe he's got some sort of post-traumatic stress thing from the shootout with Tuco, which is understandable. I mean, even for someone like him. So I guess we'll see where that goes. Meanwhile, Jesse he goes back to the guy from the previous episode who he stole, well, he didn't really steal the van, but he broke it out without paying. And he pays him back with extra as a way to say sorry, and then pays him even more to store the van and buy a really old, it's kind of a family car, isn't it? I don't
Yeah,
know
it's like
what
a station wagon
type
kind
it
of
is.
thing.
Yeah, and it actually kind of makes sense. I like the line Walter says later on, I'm guessing it doesn't bounce, which was just great.
Yeah,
Um,
you can see he's kind of maturing as a because he's
yeah,
been through a lot of shit, so he kind of realizes, yeah, he does need to grow up
yeah,
and act more like
that's
an adult in this case.
it's one of the things I like in this episode is that Jesse actually starts to take charge, not only of his life, but also of his partnership with Walter.
Yeah,
Because a little later on in the episode, they're sort of planning to cook, and they suddenly realize that, firstly, they don't have anyone to sell to, like, a proper dealer, because Tuco's dead, and they're not interested really in joining up with another person like Tuco. So it dawns on them that, just selling, Jesse can't go out selling the stuff himself because he's already been fingered by the cops once. No, that came out wrong. Because he's already being watched by the cops.
yeah, it'd be too suspicious for him to be dealing by hand.
So Jesse comes out with a third plan, which, to be honest, yeah, it makes perfect sense. I was wondering if they were going to do this, which is that Jesse takes on the role that Tuco originally had. So he gets a couple of his friends together, and he basically gets them to go out and start selling for him. And then he splits the profits with Walter because Walter's doing the cooking, Jesse's doing the selling. And suddenly you start seeing this an actual business plan
Yeah, and
starting to
he's actually
develop
treating
here.
this like a real business. He's being serious about it. He's not like when the guys come to the house, they're like, "We're not doing drugs here. We're keeping everything clean, very businesslike."
Yeah, and it's like, wow, where did this come from? This is like, yeah, I guess it's like when you're dragged through that much shit, as both of the characters really were the previous episode.
Oh yeah, just kept getting bad.
You kind of have the choice. You can either just stay there and keep lying in it, or you can pick yourself up and get the fuck on with it. And Jesse's actually made the right choice. So it's nice to see Jesse, but things don't go quite according to plan because his guys are out, they're selling things, everything going well until one of them gets mugged by a couple of crackheads. He gets out okay, but unfortunately he loses the money. And so Walter is sort of questioning Jesse's sort of business ethics because Jesse calls it breakage,
Yeah, which
which is
was
the
the
name
name
of
of the
the
episode.
name of the episode. And what he says is that it's acceptable losses. And Walter argues, well, someone like Tuco wouldn't have acceptable losses. The only breakage Tuco would have would be someone's face or someone's legs.
So of course you get the whole double meaning between
Mm,
it.
yeah, which I did sort of twig to when they were talking about it. So that ends up with Walter giving Jesse his gun and basically just saying, handle this. You can't just keep being willing to let these people walk all over you. You've got to take matters into your own hands.
Right.
Which is like, it's like, yeah, it makes sense, but I don't know if Jesse's ready for something like that. Okay, he's got the business plan, but can he do something like that? So I'm really curious to see where that goes. So that's interesting. On the other side of things, Skylar and Marie, I always
They are
get
still
confused.
not getting along. Gee,
Well,
I
no, they're
wonder
still not
why.
getting along. Although Skylar does eventually get Marie to apologize, finally, eventually, for the whole stealing kleptomania thing. Because Marie doesn't want to admit there's a problem, or at least doesn't want to admit to Skylar that there's a problem, despite the fact she's obviously having therapy for it. Yeah, so you get the feeling, well, maybe they're going to make up. Things might be a little less tense between them now. And Hank, it's the weird thing, the scene with Hank bottling his own beer. I didn't realize that was actually a thing. I kind of figured doing something like that would be illegal,
No, bottling
but
your
apparently,
beer. There's a lot of people that bottle their own beer. You can buy yeast to make your own stuff. The big problem is self distillery. That's actually very illegal.
yeah,
Where you take like alcohol and then distill it into stronger alcohol.
right, okay. Well,
That's
it's not.
moonshining and that's bad. But
Yeah,
making
it's
your own beer, it's just like any other kind of cooking or
fair enough.
preparation.
I wasn't really aware of that. So anyway, so yeah, it was a weird thing, but it ends up very funny in that Hank is woken up in the middle of the night by loud banging noises that he automatically assumes are gunshots, only to find
You
out that
assumed were fireworks.
I thought they would be fireworks because I mean, what else is they're gonna be loud pops in the middle of the night? It's like kids setting off firecrackers or something like that. And no, it turns out his beer bottles are exploding.
Which, again, can happen if they're not stored correctly because of the buildup of gas.
Yeah, you kind of get the feeling that Hank's still clearly shaken by the whole Tuco thing. And the episode ends with him throwing the block with the teeth in it away, which obviously explains why it was on the riverbank at the beginning of the episode. So we come full circle.
You
But
come
it's nice
around
to
full
see that,
circle.
yeah, it's nice to see things sort of advance, particularly on the Walter Jesse
Yeah, that
relationship.
was easily the most enjoyable part of this episode was just seeing everything
Watching
happen between.
Jesse, I think you kind of feel that you're watching him mature as well. Like not only is like mature in a business sense, but also like going from more of a teenager to being more of a man
Right.
now because he's taking charge. He's got his own car, which isn't some stupid childish thing. It's actually like a proper car.
Right.
He manages to get his own house, which he wants to keep completely straight and serious, and just all this stuff he's doing. But it's the question now becomes how far can he take it?
Yeah, how will he
So
be able to hold everything together?
yeah. So yeah, I'm really, really interested in where everything's going. Another very good episode.
And of course, we also have, you didn't mention the part where he confronts Skylar about her smoking.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, I was trying to go through this a bit quicker than normal because we're
We're
approaching an
almost at an
hour
hour.
long.
So this is
So
going to be fun to edit.
yeah, well, hopefully it will go down to about 50 minutes after editing. So yeah, Walter does confront Skylar about the smoking, but which she says she only has 3.5 cigs, which is not really acceptable. She tries to pass it off. Oh, it's not enough to hurt the baby. And Walter's just like, well, how do you know? Are you some medical expert? It's just like, at the end of the day, Skylar doesn't want to hear it. Of course, she brings out it's kind of like she does what I expected to. Like, I don't know, maybe I smoked them in a fugue state. This is like, okay, this is clearly the whole thing's just like coming back to bite him in the ass.
Yeah,
Spectacularly.
she may believe him when he said this happened, but she doesn't accept it. She doesn't respect him about it.
Yeah. So a lot of things are sort of up in the air. What's going on with Hank. The relationship between Walter and Skylar, and the relationship between Walter and Jesse's own life. So there's a lot of things that are up in the air. So yeah, interesting to see where it's all going to go next.
Yeah, this season has a
Well,
couple of pretty shocking moments and later on. So
well, we're only about halfway through the season at the moment, aren't we? Give or take an episode or two. So plenty of space to grow and
yeah.
move and see where everything ends up.
And in the next episode, we're actually going to be handling, I believe, the season finale of Ponies, aren't we?
Yes. We only got 2 more episodes of season 1 left for that. So yeah, it's not a two-parter. It's 2 individual episodes. It was only in subsequent seasons they decided to do the 2-parter at the end of the season as well as the beginning. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see what you think of the last episode, which I think is quite fun. It's a fun episode.
So we will get into that in the next episode, and we will see all you folks then.
Yep.
Take care.
Bye.